Hey, what's up guys? This is Pojr coming at you with a nice little bonus video for today. So let me ask you guys a question. What is your favorite video that I did for the year 2021? So last year I made 12 episodes, so I'm going to rank them from worst to best. So before we start, just a few things I'm going to mention. I'm not going to be counting the Smash Brothers videos that I made before. Those videos are just so different from my content after, and I didn't even make those for a big audience. I was only making those for a few friends. Doesn't seem like it'd be fair to really put that on the tier list with the rest of them. Also, another thing, I'm not going to be counting my videos way back from 2015, so my werewolf video and my Mission Cobra video. Those ones were so long ago that it just doesn't feel right to put those on the list either. So finally, this is going to be for my 2021 videos only. So no Contra Force, no Contra Hardcore, no Pulse Man. It's only going to be 2021. Anyway, let's get started with number 12. So this video went through so many technical problems when I made it. That's why I regard NBA Jam as my worst video. So a little bit of backstory with this video. I had about 80 subscribers when I made this, and I was still doing weekly content at the time. So there was a lot of pressure for me to cover kind of trending or newer topics. So around that time, there was news that came out about this new prototype, and I'm like, well, I really got to cover this. This would be a great way to get my channel more recognized. I do like NBA Jam, but I'm not a big fan of the series. So the whole episode to me felt rushed and forced. It wasn't completely fraudulent. I actually had NBA Jam for Super Nintendo when I was a kid. My brother and I used to love it. And in college, a roommate and I used to play it on Sega Genesis a lot. But I'm not a die-hard fan of the series. To make matters worse, I thought I would just be able to play the prototype right on MAME or something, but I found out there's these really complicated instructions on how to play it, and I tried to do it and I just couldn't get the game to work. So normally when something like that happens, you would think I would just scrap the project, move on to the next one, right? Well, at this time, I was still doing weekly content and I didn't have anything to replace it. So I was forced to just go along with it. On top of it, I'm not a big fan of the thumbnail. I could have done a better job on it. It's just way too dark, you can barely see it. Somebody who's scrolling on the video might not even be able to recognize that it's an NBA Jam video just by looking at the thumbnail. Thumbnails are supposed to stick out, they're supposed to be eye-popping, and I feel like my thumbnail for this video didn't really do that. To be fair, it is a pretty innocent video, but when you think about the fact that it was very rushed, and the fact that I wasn't even able to play the game, you can tell that I'm not super proud of that video. Number 11. This next video has some similarities to NBA Jam in the sense that I did feel like it was kind of rushed and I was only doing it for the YouTube algorithm. This one gets ranked pretty lowly because it was even one of my later videos, so at this point I had already set a higher standard for myself. That's why I rank my Pac-Man 99 video as number 11. Again, it was a fairly innocent video, nothing too bad about it, but the video didn't really need to exist. A lot of people had already talked about Pac-Man 99 in great detail. I was a week late talking about this game. Pretty much everything that I said about it had already been said by someone else over a week ago. And to be honest, I don't think Pac-Man 99 is bad at all, but I wasn't super interested in playing it, and I actually kind of had to keep forcing myself to play it. I rank it higher than NBA Jam though, because the thumbnail was actually pretty decent, and at least I actually played the game this time. Overall though, for a later video in my series, it was just super rushed. I wasn't passionate about it, it was short. It didn't need to exist since other people covered this topic already. Number 10. So just to give a little bit of a backstory on why I started making videos, so I actually made videos way back in 2007 on my old YouTube channel, but to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. My videos were kind of bad, really low quality, but I mean, I was 15 at the time. So then I tried again in 2015 with the Werewolf review and the Mission Cobra review. Those were alright, but again, there were a lot of things I wasn't aware of. I didn't understand the YouTube algorithm at all. I just covered 2 games that I wanted to talk about. And viewership-wise, those videos did not so great. So in December of 2020, I decided, you know what, I mean, I'm older, I have a better idea of how YouTube works, I'm gonna give it a shot again. But I knew going into it that in order to be successful on YouTube, one of the things is that you have to have something that makes you stand out from everyone else. And to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do. What kind of content can I provide that other people have not provided before? If I'm the 900th guy to make a game review, what's the difference between my review and all the other ones? And actually, I had considered going back to YouTube for a couple years prior to that, but every time I would think about what I wanted to do and then I'd just be like, oh, I don't know, let's just not do anything then. But then I reached out to some other content creators on Reddit and I realized something. They had kind of told me that if you don't know what to do, just make a video. A bad video is better than no video, right? And then from there, maybe make another video, and then over time, maybe you'll come up with something that makes yourself stand out from the others. So I decided, you know what? That makes sense. So I made Bubsy. The reason I made it about this topic in particular is because I really did want to talk about these games. You always see Bubsy 3D on top 10 lists for the worst game ever made or something along those lines. And because of how bad Bubsy 3D was, the first 2 games wouldn't even be a thought. So I wanted to make a fair review. If I'm trying to aim to be successful, Bubsy is definitely not the best topic to be talking about. Bubsy is mostly a thing in the past. It's not like people are talking about Bubsy today, so why would anyone come across my video? But again, it was my first video. I was just trying to put something out there. The video itself, I really do think it was a good review. I think I did a good job covering the first 2 games. And when you watch that video, you can definitely see some things I did back then that are pretty primitive. After all, it was my first video after not doing videos for many years. The thumbnail was okay, nothing special. I think for the time, since I was first getting into YouTube and there's a lot of things I wasn't sure about, I think it was an okay thumbnail. Also, just a little bit of a fun fact about Bubsy, this was what the original thumbnail was going to look like. I'm really glad I changed it. So the Bubsy episode has some of the same problems as the Pac-Man 99 and the NBA Jam videos in the sense that Bubsy was not a topic that was trending, so why would I cover it? But I cut it some slack because it's my first video back. The first of anything is usually going to be rough around the edges. So I think if there's someone out there who's looking for a Bubsy review, I think this is a great video for them. But if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, trying to make a video successful, I don't think the Bubsy video is going to do that. But overall, I do think the Bubsy video is alright. Number 9. So this was another algorithm episode. There was a trailer that came out for a new game, and I thought this would be a nice gateway to sort of combine algorithm episodes and an episode of something that I wanted to talk about. I'm not saying I didn't want to talk about the trailer, but I thought this would be a nice way to talk about the NES games. Therefore, I thought talking about Shredder's Revenge would be a great idea for a video. So at the time of when I made the video, there was not a lot of information on Shredder's Revenge at all. The game's out now, but at the time, all we had was a 60-second trailer that had like maybe 5 seconds worth of gameplay footage. So I thought, okay, this would be a great way to start talking about the NES games. But there's a few things here that went very, very wrong. First, I'm going to say the episode was pretty good. I mean, I did a good job reviewing the NES games. I think if you're looking for a review of the first 3 Ninja Turtles games on NES, this is a great video for you. But the first thing that was a big problem, this should have been a 10-minute video, not a 25-minute video. I went way too on and on and on about the NES games, and I barely talked about Shredder's Revenge. 90% of people are going to click on the video for Shredder's Revenge, not for the NES games, but I talked way too much about the NES games, so those who clicked on the video looking for Shredder's Revenge may not have made it past the first couple minutes of the video. If you look at the thumbnail, I think aesthetically it looks nice, but you can tell that I didn't know who I was making this video for. I think it's weird that I decided to put a picture of the second Ninja Turtles game on screen rather than a picture of Shredder's Revenge. I put too much emphasis on the NES games and not enough emphasis on Shredder's Revenge. I mean, look at the thumbnail. Does this look like a review for Shredder's Revenge? If I could do this video again, I would have only very briefly talked about the NES games, made the video only 10 minutes long, and made the thumbnail more about Shredder's Revenge than the NES games. And then I think it probably would have done better. This video actually did pretty awful viewership-wise, and honestly, I don't blame the audience for that one. Like I mentioned before, this is a good video if you are looking for a review of the NES games, but otherwise I made a lot of mistakes here. But the reason I have this one ranked over Bubsy is because at least with this one I had the right idea. I was trying to talk about the newer Ninja Turtles game that's coming out, but it doesn't get ranked much higher than that. Number 8. So this next video was the best of both worlds. It was an algorithm video because it was new news, but I also really wanted to talk about this. So when I heard that a new Sonic prototype was discovered, I was really excited. I remember when I was a lot younger, I used to look up online about Sonic prototypes all the time, and we never had one for Sonic 1. So I was really amazed by this discovery. And I thought this would be really great content for a YouTube video. For what it is, I think this is a pretty decent video. I pretty much did everything that I wanted to do in it. I talked about the magazine articles, I talked about a little bit of the history, and then I showed footage of the prototype in action. And unlike NBA Jam, I was actually able to play this one. I also got the video length just right too. It was not too short, it was not too long, I got it just right. This video was kind of significant because it was the first video where I used my new intro. It was also the first time that I did a pre-intro where I take a scene from later in the episode and put it in the beginning. This was something I did for, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 episodes. It was also the first episode where I used my brand new thumbnail format. However, the thumbnail itself wasn't the best. I think the background was just a little bit too dark, and the picture of me, you might be able to tell that it's actually not a picture that I took for the thumbnail. It was a picture that I took a few months before that video was made, so it was just kind of randomly placed there. Now for all my videos, I actually do take a picture of myself specifically for the thumbnail, so it better matches. Now, viewership-wise, I don't think the video did super great. I think it did okay considering I only had like 80 subscribers at the time. I think the reason it may not have gotten a lot of viewership is just because of the thumbnail being mediocre. But don't quote me on that one, I'm just guessing. Anyway, this video gets ranked where it is not because I think it's bad, but because I think my next choices are much stronger. Honestly, I think this was a pretty good video. Number 7. So this one's actually pretty funny because this video could have turned out like Pac-Man 99, but because I liked the game so much, it actually turned out to be a very good video. Not only good, but viewership-wise, it was actually one of my best videos. So Retrobit has been partnering with some companies and re-releasing some old games. And most recently, I had heard of Undercover Cops. So honestly, I didn't think the game was super interesting when I first saw it, but I'm like, well, I mean, I gotta cover it. It's on Super Nintendo. I cover retro games. I don't have much of a choice here. But then as I was playing the game, I actually thought it was pretty good. And because it turned out that I really liked the game, I actually really enjoyed doing this episode. It's not like the Pac-Man 99 episode or the NBA Jam episode where I felt like I was just forcing it. I think I got the thumbnail just right on this one. Notice that I didn't even mention Undercover Cops anywhere in the thumbnail. I didn't need to. Are people on YouTube searching for Undercover Cops? I don't think so. I think a title that says new Super Nintendo game is going to draw more viewership than Undercover Cops. And I just think it's a nice looking thumbnail in general. Nice and colorful, easy to read. I think I got it right. I also think that I did a pretty good job reviewing the games in general. I covered both versions of the game and I went over the differences, and then I talked more about this new game that they were making. What more could you want from this? Overall, it was a topic on a trendy subject, it was a good review, and it was a good thumbnail. I think this was a very solid video. Number 6. I really like the Burger King episode. It holds a special place. There was a couple reasons I really wanted to cover this game. For one, to be honest, I love fast food. Secondly, not a lot of people talk about the Burger King games. I remember seeing commercials for it when I was younger and always wondering what these games were about. I figured this would be great content because it would go under the obscure games, and not a lot of people were talking about it, so I felt like my video would have a very good place on YouTube. I mean, these games were not trending or anything like that. Burger King was not trending by any means, but I still thought, these are obscure, not talked about a lot. I think this will be a good video. The other reason I wanted to cover these, and this is kind of a funny little backstory, so I actually had the Burger King games for a little while before I actually started doing YouTube, and I even bought an Xbox 360 specifically so I could play these games, not so I could cover it on YouTube, but just so I could play it on my personal time. Sometimes I make really silly purchases, and I felt like kind of an idiot getting an Xbox just to play these games. So when I started doing YouTube, fast forward, I decided, at some point I really do gotta cover these games. Because of how much I love fast food, to be honest, and because of how much I really want to play these games, I was really excited about doing this video, and I was very passionate about it the entire time, and I put a lot of effort into this. Another thing I wanted to mention too, so before making this video, I actually saw an episode from GameSack where they actually covered the Burger King games, and they went really fast on the games. They were good reviews, but I felt like, you know what, I can do just a little bit better than that. There's a few things that are very significant about this episode. For one, it's one of the few episodes where I recorded it on actual hardware. Most of my videos for 2021 were recorded with a Raspberry Pi. This was also the first episode that had its own green screen gag. To be honest, I'm really proud of this green screen gag, and it's actually my favorite one that I've done throughout the whole series, 2021 and 2022. I think with the thumbnail and the video title, I think I did the best I could when it came to this. For the video title, I knew that the Burger King games were not trending by any means, so I think I came up with a title that made it as relevant as I possibly could. The thumbnail itself, so I was struggling with this a little bit. I just put a picture of one of the games on there. I was going to put a picture of the king, but I just couldn't find a picture that really worked for the thumbnail. So you could make the argument that Undercover Cops is a better episode than this one, but to be honest, I give this one a little boost because I like it. So there's not much that I would fix about this video, but if I were to change one or two things, I think the beginning with the widescreen footage, I think it came in really lousy. And then also, I wish I had more footage showing the actual games in my hand. I had some footage of the games at the very beginning, but because I was using a widescreen, some of the coloration was coming in really bad. So overall, I'm a really big fan of this episode. It's one of my favorites. The only reason it's ranked at where it is because the next episodes I'm about to mention are a lot stronger. Number 5. So when you hear about throwing a bunch of games into one cartridge, usually Action 52 comes up, but not a lot of people know about Maxi Vision. And there was such an interesting history about this cartridge, so I knew I had to cover the Maxi 15 game. The fact that there was an infomercial that featured Hulk Hogan, I knew that I had to cover this game. This was another topic that really wasn't covered that much on YouTube. This video was pretty significant because it was the first time that I used a white screen. Now, the white screen was just a bed sheet that I used. In later videos, I actually bought a real white screen, and that made things a lot easier. Honestly, I think the video, I covered everything that I should have. I talked about the history of it, I talked about Hulk Hogan, I went through all the games, and I even discussed the other version that they made and covered those exclusive games as well. You could look at this as an everything you need to know type of video. Anyone who wants to know about Maxi, they can just look at my video and they pretty much have everything they need to know already. And because there's not a lot of videos on YouTube about this subject, my video is pretty much the one people will refer to for the most part. I also think that I gave fair reviews of the games I talked about. I didn't bash them just because they're unlicensed games. I felt like I gave them an honest chance. This was around the time too that I was really starting to get better with making the thumbnails. This one was very easy to see. I got a picture of the game and Hulk Hogan right there. What more could you want here? And the title is perfect too. You would never think that Hulk Hogan would endorse an unlicensed Nintendo game. Overall, I think this was a great video. Number 4. So this next video was actually a follow-up after getting a big surge of subscribers. After gaining a whole big audience, I knew that my next video had to be something that was really good, which is why I decided to cover Toy Story on Sega Genesis. It required the most research for sure, and there's a lot of good information in that video. Toy Story is also a movie that I loved as a kid, and is also a game I had as a kid, and I really liked the game. So this was definitely a topic that I was very passionate about. One thing that took the video longer to make than normal was that while I was very familiar with Toy Story, I was not familiar with Mickey Mania and I was not familiar with Pugsley at all. So I was going through both of those games very blindly, and of course something like that is going to make a video take longer to make than usual. This video gets ranked very high on my list because it is a well thought out, well researched video. It's extremely interesting. I would say that my niche on YouTube at this point is that I cover a lot of obscure games, a lot of information on obscure games, and almost like a historian type of YouTube channel. Now, my type of content would never be able to beat somebody like the gaming historian who has all kinds of resources at his disposal. But I'm kind of like a middle ground where I may not have as much information, but I can produce content a lot more often than someone like the gaming historian. So that's kind of what I think my niche is on YouTube. On top of that, I do think I have a different style. I throw jokes in all the time, and I have a lot of green screen gags. So I do think there are things that are a lot different about the way I make videos than other historian type YouTube channels. With that all out of the way, I think Toy Story definitely accommodates my niche extremely well. If there is one thing that I could do differently, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, is that I do feel like my follow-up after getting so many subscribers was just a bit too late. I made the Toy Story video pretty much after everyone packed their bags and left. I wish that I was working on this video just a little bit more diligently so that this next episode came out a lot sooner when people were still sticking around. Unfortunately, as much as I loved this video, it didn't get the viewership that I thought it was going to get or hoping that I was going to get. But viewership or not, I do think this was a great episode, and there's a reason why this gets number 4. But the reason it's number 4 and not number 1 is because there are so many other strong choices that I'm about to cover right now. So this is the episode that really mattered. This one put me on the board. Obviously, I'm talking about Virtua Racing. So a little bit of backstory. I made Virtua Racing, and around the time I had less than 100 subscribers. And then I made Pac-Man 99, and then I made Quadrun, and after the Quadrun video, I took a small break, like 2 or 3 weeks, and then suddenly I noticed I was getting a ton of notifications. a bunch of subscriber notices, and I was looking through and I was kind of confused at first. My Pac-Man 2600 video got some recognition, my Burger King one got a little bit, my Undercover Cops one got a good amount, but my Virtua Racing one got hit with a lot of viewership and a lot of comments and a lot of subscribers, and I was blown away by it. The timing was definitely interesting because I had just started to take a little bit of a break from YouTube, and then suddenly that happened. It was almost like an indirect message saying maybe you should keep going. So the episode itself is one of my best. I love the intro at the beginning where I'm talking about all the external chips that they put inside of cartridges. I love the actual review itself. I think all the research was near perfect. This was the first episode that had a pre-intro that was not something that I took from the later part of the video. And that would be something I would continue to do in my future videos. So while I do like this episode a lot, I do have to acknowledge some of the things that I did wrong. One of the things is that I do feel like I was a little bit hard on the game. Do I think this is a bad game? Not necessarily. What it accomplished is amazing. But I feel like the game doesn't have a lot of replayability. There's only 3 levels in the game total. From a technical standpoint, it's understandable why it did, but technology aside, there's not a lot of replayability here, and to be honest, I did get bored with this game fast. But with that said, I still do feel like maybe I was a little bit too hard on the game, and some people in the comments did point that out. There was a month or two period when my subscriber count was still going up, and that would have been a great opportunity to make a new video, but I had things outside of videos that were getting in the way. I was going to school soon, I was doing some family stuff on the side, so I just didn't have a lot of time to work with. Things at my job were also starting to get really bad too because we lost one of our workers, and he was a really good worker, and I was covering a lot of his shifts after that, and I definitely did not have a lot of time after that. But still, I feel like I could have released the Toy Story episode quite a bit sooner than I did. Had I done so, maybe I would have been able to keep some of those viewers. But then, I have one big question when it comes to all of this. Why? Why the Virtua Racing episode? Why is that the one that got all the viewership? It was an awesome video, but that video did not feed the YouTube algorithm in any way, at least not the topic. I think the thumbnail is perfect. It was the first time I ever took a picture specifically for a thumbnail, and I think it turned out really well, and the video title, I think, was perfect. But out of all the videos that I made, I wonder why it was the Virtua Racing episode that gave me all of that success. Mainly because of the fact that Virtua Racing is not trending by any means. So you hear me say that a lot, but what I mean by it is part of being successful is making videos about subjects that people want to see. And I feel like not a lot of people want to see Virtua Racing, but apparently I was wrong here. So I remember a friend and I were hanging out at a cafe, and we were talking about this video, and I asked him like, oh, how should I follow up with this? And he's like, is there a Virtua Racing 2? So what was nice about this video getting all of that viewership was that it kind of told me something. Before, you saw videos like NBA Jam where I was just covering a topic because I thought it was trending and that it would get me viewership. But Virtua Racing getting all that viewership kind of told me that I can sort of cover the topics that I really want to talk about and maybe still be successful with it. So in that sense, I'm glad that it was my Virtua Racing video that got all of that attention. Let me say too that I really do appreciate all the viewership that I did get on the Virtua Racing episode. The support that I got from it is absolutely unbelievable. I have this video ranked really high because regardless of the viewership or not, this was a good video. Number 2. This episode was the turning point in the series. It's kind of funny that this is my second episode after Bubsy. Yup, I'm talking about the Pac-Man 2600 video. So before I go any further, I'm actually going to show you footage of a deleted scene that I was going to put in the episode, but I didn't. Take a look. So that concludes my thoughts about the Atari Pac-Man. Now, because I know people are going to ask me, yes, the Atari 2600 is capable of better than what we just saw. And in fact, we're going to see that in the next game. So we're not quite done yet. Let's see what it has to offer. So yeah, if you couldn't tell by that, I had a completely different idea going into this episode than how it turned out. This Pac-Man video was going to be a follow-up to my Bubsy video where I was going to do a "Is this game really that bad?" series. But then when I was doing research on this game, it just became a completely different thing. So why is this important? Well, this episode kind of shaped the series. This was what my future episodes became. They went from being a simple game review like the Bubsy one to this all-out historian or history type episode. Had it not been for the Pac-Man video, we would probably be looking at a different YouTube channel right now. That's why I consider this episode to be the turning point. So what is so great about this episode? Well, it's a review on Pac-Man for the 2600. This is a game you hear about all the time, but you usually see YouTube reviews about it, and it's usually bashing the game, and rightfully so. It's not a super great game, but my video differs from the others because it actually goes into all the struggles that went into making this game. We see a perspective in this video that we've never seen before. It's just so funny that this is one of the first videos I made. It still uses the old thumbnail. It has my old intro. Also, a little fun fact. So in the beginning, you might have noticed the part where I put a blooper in the beginning where I dropped the game by accident. That actually was a real blooper. I just put it right in the beginning. And you might have noticed that the background music has Pac Attack. So that's actually the reason why at the end of my videos now, at least most of them, I put bloopers and I actually use the Pac Attack music in it. So this video is kind of the precursor to why I started putting bloopers in, and it just set the standard for my future videos in general. So a little fun fact, I was planning on covering Ms. Pac-Man and Junior Pac-Man in this episode. This was back when I was still doing the "Is this game really that bad?" video. But when I completely changed up the formula on how I was going to tackle this video, and I decided, you know what, the video's too long already. I'm just going to leave it as is. We don't need to put those other reviews in there. So the reason I like this video is because it completely changed the series. It gave us a perspective on a game that we've never seen before, and there's a lot of good research in this video. And considering this is one of my first videos back, I have to give it a very good rating. This is by far one of my favorite videos. Number 1. So have you guys ever watched The Price is Right? You know how there's that one contestant who, when somebody bids $100, they bid $101? Well, let's just say that the Pac-Man video was the $100 and the Quadrun video was $101. So what do I mean by that? I really wanted to make a video that one-upped the Pac-Man one in every single way. I wanted something that matched the research and was better. And I believe I really achieved that with this video. So a little backstory with Quadrun. So my cousin has Atari Anthology for the PlayStation 2, and I remember I used to go to her house and I would play that game quite a bit. I remember just hearing all the games, just basic bleepity bloopity blops, and then I play Quadrun and you hear this digitized voice, and I was blown away by it. I couldn't believe it. This game stood out from the rest. So for years on end, this was the game that I always had in the back of my head. I knew that I wanted to cover this game. And once again, Quadrun is not a widely talked about topic on YouTube. I think there may have been 1 or 2 videos about it, and there was a few gameplay videos about it, but I knew that I wanted to make a really good video on it. And I knew that voices in video games was kind of a cool little phenomenon. You think about Sega Genesis games and how those had voices in them, and that seemed like it was hard to do. Well, think about Quadrun on the Atari 2600. So around when I made this video, I had stopped making videos weekly. I was giving myself a lot more time to make videos, so I had a lot more time to think of jokes and to put skits throughout the episode. And this episode actually has the most skits that I've ever done in any episode. This episode honestly tells a story that hasn't been told all that much, talking about a game developer that wanted to see what a console could do. And then it went into detail about the first talking video game in general, and then also the first talking video game console that used a peripheral. Sometimes I would talk to my friends about how I make videos, and if anyone ever asked, oh, well, can you show me a video? This would be the video I would always show them. This video is the new standard for my best video. When I make future videos, I always have Quadrun in the back of my mind, always thinking, oh, is it as good as Quadrun? I have this ranked over Pac-Man because this video is everything that Pac-Man is, but better. It also covers the 2600, which I feel like is a console that's not talked about very much on YouTube. So there's a good reason why I have this as my favorite video. I put so much time and effort into it, I put my heart into this episode. It was a very interesting and fun to watch episode. The green screen skits were funny, and it talked about an interesting topic that wasn't talked about all that much. Needless to say, I really like this episode. So there you have it, there's my list. So let me know in the comments, what is your top 12 list? Are there any positions you would disagree with? Would you rank them differently from how I did? I thought it would be really cool to do a behind the scenes type of video. I think my viewers should know how I feel about my videos after all. So I do plan on doing this type of video for my 2022 episodes as well. As of right now, I currently have 6 videos for 2022. Hopefully I can at least get it to 10 by the end of the year. Anyway, with that said, have a good one, guys.